The Bill and Callie Show is brought to you by Sci-Fi Donuts, Ray's Movers and Storage, Inc., and Tiger Plumbing.
Oh, okay.
Hello, welcome to the Bill and Kelly Show, coming to you from Wildrose Brewery in Griffin. With us today is Charles William, and he is you started up a company called CW Consulting,
Absolutely.
right? Of course, on the other side we have the infamous Kelly Rasala, or the one and only Kelly Rasala, the beautiful Kelly Rasala. So, well, thank you for joining us today.
Yes.
Thank you for having me.
We're excited.
So, why don't you tell us a bit about yourself, where you
Sure.
came from, and how you came to start up CW Consulting?
Absolutely. So I was born in Chicago, but moved here to the region when I was maybe 3. And so I grew up in Hammond. I received all my education in Hammond. In fact, went to all Hammond schools. So Irving, Spohn, Clark. And then after that, went to Purdue, graduated from Purdue. And, I started my my time in education in 2006. So I've been working through there. And in fact, I only moved to Cherville. I've been living in Cherville for maybe about the last 5 years. But I've lived my entire life in Lake County, essentially.
You're a region rat.
I am.
A proud region.
And so I've been in education now for almost 15 years. So I started off as a teacher. I became a mentor teacher under an evaluation system that they had. And then I moved districts. And then when I was there, I was a lead teacher, became an assistant principal, then the principal. And then I moved out to Chicago, where I am now, and I've been a principal for 5 years now. This is year number 5.
And is that an elementary school, or is it a...
Yeah, so it is. I'm at a K-8 school, so I was mentioning before that I have always worked with middle school, regardless if I've done middle school, high school, or K-8.
Lord love you.
It takes special people to work with middle school.
Yes, in fact, I often said that our middle school teachers are most underpaid, underappreciated for what they go through. Oh, it's a trying time.
It's an
trying
interesting
time.
group.
Full of hormones is what it is.
Yes.
As one teacher said, there's like 30 mini hormone bombs ready to explode at any given moment.
Yes.
And so, walking the hallways was definitely interesting. They moved my office there, and I think it was to punish me for some reason. No, but they're great kids. And
They are great kids.
And the teachers there were absolutely awesome. So,
Wonderful.
yeah, so you have all this background as teacher and an administrator, which I know an administrator that when you're at the helm of a school, you have to find and try to encourage the teachers to be their best, and also make sure that they're getting the best out of the kids.
Absolutely.
And so I could understand how you got into consulting easily, because it is, and it's one. And I tell people, I've worked in the commercial industry, then went into education, and it was probably one of the most trying parts of my career, because of the challenges. And the state of Indiana and the government didn't make it easy either, throwing all these mandates on, and you still have to make sure the kids are getting educated. So tell us a bit about what your hopes for are with CW Consulting, and how you could transfer those talents over and maybe help people out.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right. So I always tell people, right, I think in education now, they're expecting you to continuously do more with increasingly less, right? And so part of my job literally is to train my teachers, with limited budgets. I am the person who, on a weekly basis, I'll meet with teachers, train my teachers. During the summer, I'll train my teachers. And in order for me to stay current, I'm always at conferences. I'm presenting at conferences. And that's actually what kind of launched this. Somebody said, hey, you've done a fantastic job. Can you come out and do it for us? And I was like, well, this is kind of what I do anyway, right? And this thing was kind of born. And so it's my hope right now is that, when I was a teacher, I had fantastic results in the classroom. And I said, I want to be able to make this bigger, right? When you're working with 30 kids, like, okay, well, how about bigger? So I eventually moved into administration where I was an assistant principal and working with just middle school students, still getting fantastic results. And I said, well, prompting from my current principal, then principal, I became a principal. My whole goal was I wanted to take these ideas, philosophies, the things that I was doing in my own classroom and apply it to an entire building so that way that building could experience success. And so what I'm seeing now is the opportunity to even take that beyond my building. And so you're right, education is extremely difficult, right? We are consistently receiving mandates, expectations without resources and just kind of saying, hey, make this thing happen. And then we're kind of figuring out how to do that. And so if I can share with fellow educators or even just other organizations to say, hey, here are some of the success stories, here are some tips and strategies and processes so that they can be successful, then I'll be a happy person.
So, what type of organizations do you think, like sales organizations, or?
I think a little bit of both, right? So my forte is education, right? If you're looking at teaching strategies, pedagogy, materials, curriculum, I know that stuff like the back of my hand, right? But a lot of those skills transfer into other areas, right? So I was in sales for a while, right? And so when you talk about understanding your clients, just like you would understand students, right? Working on your own delivery and your persona, right? Having those targets, and especially backward design, right? Kind of figuring out where do I want to be, and then planning backwards. I think a lot of times people say, okay, well, I'm going to start working with no end goal in sight. And so I think when you get down to the foundation, right? All organizations or most organizations are very, very similar in that capacity.
So, So, if you get a client, what do you start out with? Do you sit and have like a session with them, try to figure out what they do, and then what's your plan for working with like, for instance, a company, a commercial company?
Absolutely. So I think one of the things I put out there is that what I would like to think is different is that we tailor it to their needs, right? So I think very much when we start, we do something very similar to this. Let me get to know you, right? Kind of just talk, see your personality. What are your hopes, dreams, wishes? Where do you want your company to be, right? I think that a lot of times if you just dive in and say, well, this is what you're doing wrong, that's what you're doing wrong, it's like, well, wait a second, right? So I want to get to know the people behind the company, right? And once we're able to kind of pinpoint what is it that I want to do, what is it that I'm doing, what are some issues that we've been having, we can kind of start putting all that together and identifying those pitfalls, right? And so we actually design that together, and part of what I talk about is unlocking the potential. And say, okay, I'm not going to be the one doing the work, right? I'm getting you there, but let's kind of figure out what areas need some help, and then how can I help you get better in those areas? And then, of course, the results kind of come naturally after that once we figure out how to fill in those gaps.
Yeah. One of the things, do you feel like in working with organizations, and specifically where you came from, education, one of the primary problems that people need help with is communication?
Oh, absolutely.
And inter-department communication. I know when back in my world, it used to be that in middle school they had teams where they had the social studies teacher, the math teacher, science, all on a team, and they would meet in these team meetings. And it was absolutely key that they knew how to communicate. So I could see that. And now trying to transfer that over into the commercial world, where the sense of urgency necessarily isn't there, but you still have all these communication faults. So can you talk us through like what maybe some of your strategies for communication and how to help companies along they're having a problem?
Absolutely. I think one of the biggest things is getting back to the basics of communication, right? We live in a digital world.
Yes.
So everything is either text messages or emails or whatever it is, and I don't know if you've ever been in that situation, but you've read a text message or an email, and you immediately apply whatever it is that you're feeling to that email, right?
Exactly.
So all those nonverbal cues are gone, right? And so you're like, oh, they're upset with me. In reality, they're just wanting to talk to you. And so I think coming back to those basics and saying, sit down and talk to somebody face to face. Right? I understand the importance of documents and communication, whether it's through emails or memos, whatever it may be, to say I have a paper trail. But definitely talking to somebody. So that's one of the things I know I always try to do is I bring people into my office and we sit down and we talk. Right? The other side of that is understanding those dynamics. Right? And so if you are, for example, a boss, right? When you talk about those nonverbal communication skills, right? Sitting across the desk from somebody, right? You kind of divide, you're situating power, right? So oftentimes I will sit, if we're at a round table, or a conference table, I won't sit at the head of the table with my staff. I'll sit next to them if we're having a meeting in my office. It's those little things, and I think it's things that people don't always think about to say, hey, we're on the same team here. Right? We may have different positions, right? We may have different responsibilities, but in the end, we're on the same team and we're trying to get to the same goal.
Exactly.
And I tell my people all the time, if you're successful, then I'm successful, but I can't be successful without you, right?
Right. Team building and communication.
Absolutely.
So.
And one thing, as an administrator, you not only have to work with the teachers, but you're working with the students.
With the students.
You're working with the parents. You're working with the
community,
school board, the
Absolutely.
Councilmen and aldermen, and the community itself. So you have to learn different ways to communicate with different people based on who they are, where they're coming from,
Absolutely.
and everything. Plus, I've had the honor of working with Charles in theater, so I know that your communication skills are amazing because that's something required to.
Absolutely.
You have to get the emotions and everything have to go out there and change how people feel just with your words and your looks, and that's it. That theater is person to person.
Absolutely.
And it's so different than the computers.
Because
and
everything
the
else is
emails.
going.
Yeah. So I can see where your background would just be so amazing for something like this. So
Absolutely.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah, we've often joked that some of my best teachers have experience or some type of background in the arts, right?
Exactly.
Because you know then how to present yourself. As you said, as you're working with those different organizations, right? Oftentimes I've had parents who have come in and they're very angry, and sometimes communicating isn't communicating, right? Oftentimes, and I actually just had a conversation with a student, sometimes they just need to communicate, and all you're doing is processing it, taking it in, and allowing that to come out, right? I've had parents who do that, just dump on me, and then they're like, thank you, and they leave it like, you're welcome, although I've said absolutely nothing.
Well, Kelly and I have an issue probably going to help us with every time we go somewhere, it's all about Kelly. We walk in the room, it's, oh, Kelly! And Bill.
You're like, hey, I'm here.
So can you help us out there, or do you think it's a lost cause?
Oh, I think, she just radiates that, right?
She radiates, all right.
Yeah, I think on the other side of that, right, and it's not just the person doing the communicating, right, as we work with teams, right, it's kind of being comfortable, right, understanding this is who I am, this is my, and not trying to be somebody or something that you're not, and saying that this is who
So
I am.
you're
You
saying
are your
that-
own thing, like
So
you
you're
say.
saying that I should just sit back and accept that she's going to be the queen?
If that's your, I've had to do the same in my marriage.
That's your role, dear.
All right. Well, we'll move on. We may need some counseling. I'm not sure.
Marriage counseling is not my area.
Yeah, that's not your thing.
Well, yeah. I'm not sure it's so much marriage counseling as just my ego is taking a hit every time we go anywhere. Oh, Kelly, how are you doing? I'm saying, I'm here too, Who cares? It's Kelly. It's all about Kelly.
You're in my territory in this site. You were a Porter County guy for a long time. I'm a Lake County girl. You moved
Well, I
to
don't
Lake
think
County.
that matters. Because when we're in Michigan City, it's, oh, Kelly.
Well,
You know what I'm saying, pal? It's like,
some people just have an issue, and some people are.
all right, yeah, okay. Anyway, where were we at? What were you here for? No.
CW, that's what
Yes.
we're here for.
Yes,
CW.
CW Consulting.
That's right.
So, what are the things do you think you can bring? One thing about team building, it's a lot of exercises.
Absolutely.
Do you think you provide some things like go in and have like a what do they call them? Take people out of their work environment and set them aside and work on team building?
So I think that's where it comes back to having those conversations. You get to know your teams, right? There are some teams with individuals who are a little more hammy, who say, hey, I'll get up and perform and do these things, right? And you have other people on those teams who are like, no, absolutely not, right? And then you're kind of defeating the purpose. So today even, exactly today, I did a team building with my staff. And it was something simple. It was a scavenger hunt with each other, and it was just getting to know each other. And at first they were like, we've worked all year together. And I said, you'd be surprised about what you didn't know about each other. And so it was really interesting. They went around, I gave them 10 minutes, and they did learn. And so at the end, we kind of talked about it, and they said, I had no idea that, this person was here 11 years. Did you know so-and-so has 7 siblings? And, it's those little things that, because we know each other on a professional level, right? We don't always know each other on a personal level. And once you start to build those little bonds, it helps strengthen the workplace. And so, there are some things, right? You go out and you do, we're going to do rope building and, safe falls and all that stuff. And if it works, it works, right? But I think it's getting to know your organization, getting to know what it is that you're trying to do, and then crafting it to that.
So it's like Kelly actually acknowledging that I exist when we go to places.
Yeah, I guess.
Something like that.
It's a team building exercise.
Enough of that. We'll seek marriage counseling or something. So, how are you going out marketing yourself? I mean, do many people know about this yet, or?
So it's starting to spread. So I am doing a bunch of just cold calling. So in fact, what I'm doing is just blasting out emails to school districts, regional offices. In fact, one of the first people who booked me, now they're sharing. So it's even spreading by word of mouth. So I'm receiving emails and saying,
That's
hey.
some of the best ways.
Absolutely. So they're saying, hey, my friend booked you, I'm interested as well. I was mentioning to Callie that I'm part of CPS. And so apparently word has gotten out in CPS, and so we talked about it even today during the team building. Some of my staff were surprised, and they said, well, so-and-so told me, because they heard about it at a meeting in CPS, and I haven't even launched this to CPS. So it's just kind of putting it out there, via LinkedIn and everywhere else, and I think my biggest one will, once I start doing conferences, I'm going to be at 2 conferences this summer, one in St. Louis and one in Vegas, and so using those as platforms to jumpstart this as well.
Sure. Now, is there a website or a
There
Facebook
is.
page or something that people can go to
Absolutely.
find out more information?
So cwconsultingservice.com. It's really simple. And then as well as if you find me on LinkedIn, just looking my name up, you'll see the connection there as well. So those are the 2. I've considered doing phone numbers and all those, but to be honest, in this day and age, right, if you get a phone number that you don't recognize, I'm not answering it. So right now I'm sticking to LinkedIn and the website.
Perfect.
Oh, great. Well, I tell you that, and I will say you are a very dynamic speaker.
Oh,
very
thank you.
impressed
Thank
with your
you.
communication skills and
I also know his family, so I can tell you he's a really good guy. It's not just some guy coming on here. No, I can say from personal experience how awesome he is. He has an amazing mom, and I love her too.
Thank
and,
you.
His family's awesome. So he's a good
having
guy.
having good moms is
Having a
thumbs
good
up.
mom and a good family, and that's a good thing.
Well, great. Is there anything else you want to
Leave
share
with
with
our
us?
audiences.
I think it's first of all, I just want to say thank you for having me as part of the show. And for anybody who's listening, if you're looking for somebody who can come in, work with you, and tailor solutions for you, it might be new, it might be something different, but I guarantee you that you're going to be happy with the results.
Absolutely.
There you go. Well, by all means, look them up at CW Consulting, and boy, we appreciate you coming out and having a beer with us and
Thanks
sitting
for
down
having
and
me.
talking about your company. And it's been a pleasure.
Your beautiful wife, Lorena, who's over
Yeah,
there.
she goes off camera.
Yeah.
Do you
I
have
don't know
the
why,
same
she's
problem when
gorgeous.
you guys go on the road? Like,
So we have a similar problem. So she's beautiful. so people just focus in on her. And I have this big personality that's like, hey, and they're like, yeah, no, we don't want to look at you. So
Well, see, I'm neither good looking or very big personality, so that's probably the problem, right? You got beauty and big
Beauty and
booming
charm, right?
personality.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, enough of this,
Okay.
because I think someone out there is going to start a whole new sitcom based
There
upon
you
our
go.
relationship.
there you go. As long as you
Yeah.
get some royalties.
Residuals, yeah,
They'll probably all go towards her.
The dynamic one.
because they're
Yeah.
smart.
Well, with that, we appreciate you coming back on and sharing your new business with us and
Thank you.
Some of the things that you can offer companies or teachers, administrators.
Absolutely.
So it sounds great. We wish you the best. And
And we'll be posting all the information up there for you if you need to get in touch with him and that's not working for you or you misplaced something, let us know. Bill and Callie, you know where we are.
There you go. And as always, we wish you have a great week and a great weekend.
Absolutely.
Have some rain coming, but who cares?
That's
Just
right.
get out there and have a good
Mother's Day
time.
weekend.
Yes, and
Have a
happy
wonderful
Mother's Day.
time.
Happy
Oh,
Mother's
yes.
Day.
Mother's Day
Yes.
weekend.
Don't
Your
forget the
mother.
moms.
Oh,
That's right.
my goodness. Then with that, we wish you all a great week and a great weekend. Goodbye for now.
Bye-bye.
The Bill and Callie Show is brought to you by Sci-Fi Donuts, Ray's Movers and Storage, Inc., and Tiger Plumbing.